Accurate beats.
Hello YouTube, Accurate again, back with a new video from the home studio. So, today I want to talk a little bit about software plugins. I mean, computers and software is definitely a big part of my day-to-day music making workflow. Even though I really love like hardware synthesizers and samplers and drum machines, software is definitely a big part of stuff. So I'm using Logic Pro X myself for this example right here, but at least as far as I know, these plugins are compatible with any DAW out there. So whether you use Machine or the MPC software or Logic, Cubase, FL Studio, or I don't know, Ableton Live, these plugins are kind of useful for anyone. So let's dive into it. Alright, so the first one I want to talk about here is called Ovox, and it's from Waves Audio. It's a vocal resynthesis plugin, which is a little bit strange because I don't normally work with any vocalists at all, and I'm not a big fan of autotune. But at its core, Ovox is pretty much a vocoder, but it has presets for a lot of different cool stuff. And I've tried to put like most of my stuff through Ovox just to see what happens. And to me, it's more of a cool, inspiring thing and a nice tool to have at hand for coming up with new ideas on where to take stuff, you know? But before we get into actually using Ovox, I need something to work with. So let's just put down some chords and maybe something else on the drum loop that I have here. So I'm gonna start with this normal like electric piano that's built into Logic. Okay, so that's a start. Now let's edit those MIDI notes. Okay, kind of happy with that. So let's try to actually record some vocals of me just trying to sing or hum a few notes together with this. But don't worry, of course I'm not gonna play the unaffected audio that just comes into the mic, because that's not a good idea at all. Okay, that sounded awful, but let's normalize the audio. And there we are. Now to make sure that everything is in pitch here, I need to set my note mapper to the same kind of stuff that I played on the keyboard. So in this case the root note is G, and I played some 7 chords in minor, so let's go scale. And as you can see here, you are able to go into having Ovox to play chords or to play harmonies or scales. And for this case I just want to lock it down to my scale. So what Ovox is doing now is that it's taking the input audio, in this case me humming or singing, and putting it through the entire signal chain of Ovox, which is basically 2 oscillators, a bunch of effects and modulators left and right. But before I play this, I need to make sure that the correction is set to max, because that's definitely needed. So with the first preset here, it sounds like, I don't know. And let's find a preset here that's cool. Let's go for vocoding and, well, I don't know, one of these. Okay, that's far from perfect, but you get the point. Okay, it still sounds too much like a voice, so let's go for something else. Okay, now it sounds kind of still like a voice, but I'm very much a robot here. Now what I really want to show is what I find cool about this one. Let's go on to do something even more crazy here, and let's go into the presets and load up a synth sound. Some type of synthy type of bassline thing going on, and it's still just responding to the voice that I recorded. So in the interface itself you have a lot of different options for either tweaking your sound or tweaking how it plays over time. So in this case the arpeggio is set to off, so I guess we have something going on here in terms of a sequencer, an LFO, another sequencer, and yeah, just a lot of stuff. But the notes in the pattern itself comes from this one right here. So let's just erase everything and see what happens. So this opens and closes the filter. So let's load up a preset for the sequencer here and see what happens. Okay, so you have a lot of different options there, and this is just the first modulator. So let's take another preset here from the synth category. And it became some sort of pad instead. So what I'm trying to say here is that I find this to be a really inspiring tool. I wouldn't have come up with these types of wobbly bass lines or heavily affected synth sounds without like having to play them and tweak a preset somewhere in some sort of synthesizer. So this one makes a lot of difference to the incoming audio. Let's try one more and as I said, you never know where it takes you. Now let's turn this track off completely because we don't want to hear that anymore, and let's use the Ovox on the piano instead. And let's tune this one to the same thing, G. Okay, so let's actually try to keep that and duplicate the piano track so I have an electric piano on top of it. Let's try another preset for that piano. And when I'm going to load a synth preset that is called E-piano, this is what you get. So some sort of bass line. Let's try that together with the piano. Again, it's not perfect, but considering the small amount of work that I put in here, I get a lot of new ideas. And keep in mind that this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Let's go for instrument and put a guitar thing on this one. You know, why not? I know it sounds kind of strange, but this is what I do a lot nowadays. I try to put my samples, my drums, my everything through Ovox and just switching through the presets and see what kind of ideas I can come up with from that. So let's take a quick listen to my drum loop here through Ovox as well before we go on to the next one. And let's load instrument, drums. Okay. So even though maybe I wouldn't want to use that for an entire track, you know, this is just a cool way to come up with new things. I wouldn't myself had put like a distortion and a saturator and a formant filter and a ring modulator on my drums, but here I can. And there's also some presets that actually applies to entire beats. So using them creatively like that for maybe something like a live session or something could be cool. That could be cool. Now, let's move on to the next piece of software that I want to try out and show you guys just a little bit. And let's just keep the drums and the normal electric piano right here. So I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube where people are using Native Instruments' new expansion that is aimed towards lo-fi beatmakers. What is it called? Faded Reels. Yeah, this one is like similar to that, but it's not just a machine expansion. This is an actual instrument that loads inside of Kontakt. So let's open up Kontakt first. Alright, so this instrument is called Lo-Fi Glow and has a bunch of different cool presets that you can use if you're looking for a lo-fi sound. Now, I have my issues with the term lo-fi, and I think that it's kind of, I don't know, boring that the entire lo-fi scene of beatmakers has been so saturated lately, but yeah, it's cool that people make beats, so whatever. The presets here are in categories of bass, effects, keys, leads, mallet, organ, pad, and pluck sounds. And since I already have my little chord progression there, I can just turn this into keys and maybe take that one. A little too out of pitch for my taste, so let's take another one. That's kind of cool. And the interface here gives you a few different pages that you can tweak. So first of all, the sound page, that is kind of the basics of it all, with an A and a B section that is mixed together kind of nicely. You also have an effects page, a sequencer, and a macros page. But let's get back to the sound page, because I think the noisy part of this is a little bit too loud. Let's turn off layer A here, and okay, that's what I'm stuck with. So let's go to B and turn that one off. So that's the main part of the noise. Let's turn down the volume of it, but let's keep it in the mix. Let's change the filter somehow. Okay, cool. So this one gives you way more things than you might expect from it at first glance. We can change our waveforms of our LFOs, we can change our envelopes, we can add effects, and you know, a lot of cool stuff like that. And the main knobs on the bottom of the interface here actually makes a lot of difference and takes you kind of far when it comes to sound design. But let's jump into another preset. Or maybe this one. Oh! That's really nice. Let's try it a few octaves up and see how it sounds. Could that work together with the last one? It could. Now, one of my favorite things about this instrument right here is the basses. So let's try those out as well. And I get a lot of questions on this channel about bass lines and bass instruments and how to find those really deep subby basses. And even though there's a lot of ways to get it, I think some of the presets in Lo-Fi Low are just fantastic. Okay, so that one has a lot of like noise and buzz to it, but that's cool if you're looking for a lo-fi sound. More like an analog bass, but still kind of dirty. Okay, I like that. That's a kind of nice bass sound, so let's try to combine that with my little beat I have going here. Okay, that kind of works for what it is for now. Let's take one more instrument from Lo-Fi Low here. Let's go for something melodic, maybe a lead sound. Okay, let's try that sound on top of everything else. Alright, I need to stop myself here because this is not like a beat making video. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just getting a bit carried away by using these kind of already nicely mixed and affected instruments. But they do sound really nice. Some of them are a little bit too dirty and too messed up to my liking, but since you're able to go into the different pages and turn that stuff down, I'm actually thinking that the Lo-Fi Low instrument is like one of the best One Native Instruments has given us for a while now. So my plan was actually to show even more different pieces of software that I use a lot from time to time, but yeah, time just flies and I have to go do other stuff, so I'm just gonna edit this video real quick, and so that's it for this video. I hope you kind of liked it a little bit, and yeah, the Ovox from Waves and the Lo-Fi Low instrument from Native Instruments, that's my tip of the day, I guess. Really cool and useful stuff in whatever type of DAW you're using. So, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Until then, ha det gott!
Accurate beats.